Sometimes life is just one damn thing after another. You're getting assignment after assignment in school. You don't know what the professor is talking about. Your family's harassing you to do this or that. Your boss is giving you project after project you don't know what to do with. You're confused and helpless. The bills are piling up. It's just hell. You don't know where to turn. You have this feeling of cataclysmic panic hanging over you. And that is what Greco, in his work Laocoon, is trying to convey. So, what's going on here? So this is during the Trojan War. So the Greeks and the Trojans have been at war for several years. And it's a stalemate. And the Trojans here presented have been offered by the Greeks a wooden horse. And some of them want to take it in, but others are more dubious. Others say, do not trust Greeks bearing gifts. And first among them is Laocoon. In response to this, Neptune, who is on the side of the Greeks here, or at least at this moment, sends to kill Laocoon and his sons here and here snakes which devour them whole, and which the Trojans interpret as being a sign that no, they should not doubt this gift, they should take it in, which leads to the destruction of their city. Okay, so let's examine this work. Let's see how Greco has done it. So, let's start off with this sun here. We notice, first off, that there's a distortion to the anatomy here. This leg seems so much shorter than this one. This one seems to have this bizarre elongation to it, in these wild curls and ripples throughout it. We see also that is a consistent feature of all of these figures. These seem almost 10 feet tall and sort of hovering over the ground. The knee of Laocoon seems almost ripped out of its joint, hanging out in front. All of the flesh here just has this kind of wild, fire-like energy. These sort of bright highlights and deep shadows throughout. There's this feeling of energy bursting through it, this kind of anxiety over every ripple of muscle. So, let's look closer at this. First off, we see that his body's curved here. From this leg here up there, and of course that's attenuated by the fact that this leg is shorter than this leg. We see also that there's a sort of emaciation to his stomach here. He feels, which adds to the feeling of that stretched quality of this curve. And let's look at these hands here, these arms. The way that this arm seems almost about to fly out of its joint right there. How it's basically at his hard right angle right above his head. How the other one is thrust out in a sort of energetic punch. And what is he doing here? With one arm, he tries to hold back the snake above, and with the other one, he tries to keep it back. So, he's doing his best to keep away this snake, which is only but mere inches. It's almost a dissatisfaction we feel at how close it is to him. And we wonder what does the next moment bring. And it does not take long to answer. We look at this snake here, and we see its face, and we see this demonic eye. We see this curling, devilish smile. We see this almost confidence, this devilish charisma kind of vibrating off of its flesh. We know that it is coming at him with full force. And what do we see when we look into the sun of Laocoon here? We see a face turned up towards heaven. We see a man doing his utmost to keep it back, but not in a sense controlled, not with intelligence and thoughtfulness, but sort of in that haphazard way of of one arm stretched over the head, another arm thrust behind. This is not the way a man who is going to win fights. This is a man who is at his end. We know that within moments he will be bitten by the snake, and he will join the fate of his brother lying dead nearby. And look at this brother. The way that the fingers are curled out, dead-like, the yellowish tinge to the flesh, the way that legs limply fall over, the lifelessness of the eye we see here. This is a man who is dead. Dead right next to his father who is writhing next to, between the corpse of one son and the soon-to-be corpse of the other son. Let's look at Laocoon in his despair. Look at the way he kicks the air impotently before him. The way his foot is sort of digging into the ground. It tightened as closely to his thigh as possible. Isn't that just a wonderful contrast? Kicking in one direction and clinging to him in another. And let us look at the snake, which is next to him. The way it curls underneath him, rolling over and back. His hand, a series of spike-like, trying to hold on to it. His arm underneath his back. Do you know how uncomfortable that would be to have your arm underneath your back as you're gripping something? And the snake so wraps around him. It already has that incredible superiority to him. It wraps around his arm too. Laocoon is gripping onto it desperately, doing his bicep and tricep touching as in this last-ditch effort to hold it back. And we see in his face not even terror, just disbelief, just a sort of wide-eyed awe at his immediate demise, as we see these sort of spark-like brushstrokes in his beard and hair. This is a man who knows his death, and this is a snake who delights in it, who feels the power of his bite. And now let's turn and look. We see also here his fellow citizens of Troy looking down. One hand sort of flexed up, sort of in disbelief. The other one sort of turning around, almost unbelieving at what's going on. Again, them dancing along into the irrational space. And look at this whole space here. It's not coherent. It has a irrationality to it. We have one rock sort of spurting up here and darkness there. This rock sort of pouring down diffusely, and this one rising up. It's not even clear how this man is standing here, and behind him there is only darkness which transitions into the forest, into the distance. It's not an intelligible area. It's just like the terror you feel when you do not know what you're doing, when you do not know where you are. And look at the sky. It shares in that terror. It shares in that muscly anxiety. The way it pours down these long diagonals, sometimes blindingly bright, other times in this darkness, ripping open here and there, rolling down, almost lightning-like in its turbulence. And then what do we have behind us here? What do we have behind the writhing corpses of Laocoon, his sons? Why, we have the city of Troy. And there is something very disturbing about the city of Troy. It has a red aura over every building. A red aura which gives it the quality of being blood-stained. And why is it blood-stained? Well, what is edging towards it? What is coming near it? It is this horse. The Trojan horse. The Trojan horse, which will spell the end to Troy, which will cause the citizens of Troy's, to have their blood spilled over their city. So just as Laocoon and his sons lay dying in the foreground, we have Troy dying in the background. And this feeling, this anxiety, this moment before death, this writhing terror, this is the feeling that we should learn to identify in our own lives. This feeling of absolute helplessness, of putting one arm up in the air and the other one thrust behind us, of one arm twisting beneath us, another one tightly bound to us, one leg close to our bodies, clinging down, digging into the earth, the other one flailing impotently into the air. This feeling of terror, of irrational space, of confusion and meandering helplessness, that is something that we need to identify if we want to overcome it. That is something that we need to look out for if we are ever to get out of it. And that is the gift that El Greco is giving to us here. The ability to recognize this terror so we may expel it, exorcise it from our existence.